Good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to the Youth Parliament. This is a space where young people across the country get to interact with the government and they get to hear what the government is planning for them and how anything the government is working on is going to affect them and where they can plug in. Karibuni sana to the Youth Parliament, and for this first edition, we have the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and National Planning, John Mbadi, with us, and alongside him is one of the youngest members of Parliament, Harun, who is a nominated member of Parliament from the Orange Democratic Movement. We will also have a live audience with us here. Ay, makofi kidogo. We have a live audience with us, and you too, who is watching on the go or wherever you are at, you can engage with this conversation. The hashtag to use is Youth Parliament KE. I get that again, Youth Parliament KE. We are live on TikTok, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're also live on Instagram. So interact with us. This is a conversation organized by Digital Media Publishers of Kenya. That includes Tuko, that also includes Kenya Times, that includes Nairobi Leo, that includes Ghafla, Business Today, Opera News, Live Kenya, and Kenyans.co.ke. My name is Mono Njuguna. I'll be your host or speaker for today. I'll moderate this conversation, but I will not be alone. I have two other colleagues assisting me. That is Shem Muikia and Muthoni Irongo. Thank you so much and welcome to the conversation. This is the Youth. Come on, guys. This is the Youth Parliament. But I see yes. Welcome to the Youth Parliament.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah. All right. August 8th, you took the Bible, you became the CS for Treasury. Take us back to that moment when you finally got into one of the most influential offices in Kenya.
It was very interesting, but also very tense at that time. Remember, I came in under extraordinary circumstances. The people I see in front of me here had a lot of concerns, raised so loudly. And so in the process, even without preparing yourself, you hear that you are going to be appointed to the docket, which probably caused the issues that are being debated and being debated loudly. So you really don't know whether to take up the appointment. And you see, even before the appointment is made, your phone is jammed with unasalimiwa.
The moment the nomination is made.
Not yet made. Yeah. So you don't know whether to take it or not. And they're telling you are betraying us, and you're also looking at your country, and you're asking yourself, we are over 50 million Kenyans.
Yes.
And with all these problems, I'm the only one that has been picked to help maybe bring sanity. Do I lose out on this, or do I take it up? Will it be a betrayal or not? So it was, in a nutshell, a hard decision. But I think I'm proud that I took that challenge. And here we are.
Now, your first finance bill, your first budget, how has that experience been for you? Being on the other side, you were a legislator, you got to talk about them when they got to Parliament, but now you are actually at the center of creating them.
Yeah, let me address that your question by saying that I have been in Parliament for some time, 17 years to be exact, and during which time, about 15 years, I've been in the Budget Committee, Budget and Appropriations Committee. And so it is not a completely new environment for me, but I must say that when now you get into the thick of it and you get to understand what goes on in Kenya's economy in a bit more details, then you realize that the work is not easy. So from last year, I knew the work was not easy even when I was getting into office, but I also promised myself that I would do things differently. And what motivates me into doing it differently is the constitution that we have. I know many of us here are young people. I am a little bit older. I don't want to say I'm old, but at 54, I am reasonably old. Now, some of us have gone through processes in this country. We have seen a lot more than some of you. We were born in another dispensation. You are born, but you are brought up in a totally different dispensation. Long gone were days when everything was concealed, everything was secret around government. In fact, including the budget process was a secret. It was only known largely by the Minister for Finance, who comes on a particular day. And before that day in June, which was not even known which exact day, around May, everybody starts hoarding because, you know, the budget is sirikali. Now, then someone comes and starts making pronouncements, and everybody is glued to on TV, and it was one, KBC. Now, that has completely changed with the new constitution. If you read the Bill of Rights, if you read the chapter 35 of our constitution, clearly we are told access to information is a must, is mandatory. Now, with that, the budget process has been opened up. The process starts way last year for this budget that we are going to read in June. It actually started immediately we closed the 2023-24. Then the process of 25-26 starts, not even 24-25. When you start the year 24-25 financial year, you start on the budget of 25-26. And that was around August, where the cabinet secretary sends out circulars to ministries, circular to ministries, MDS, let me summarize it. Then in September, you get what we call budget review and outlook paper, basically spelling out how we performed the previous financial year in terms of revenue collection and expenditure. Going forward, what are the projections, and then the ceilings for the following year. All this starts, this discussion starts in September. October and November, sector working groups begin public engagement and hearing from people. So what the Treasury does, Sam, is simply give envelope. We give various sectors their resource envelope. Hii ni yako, hii ni yenyu, hii ni yenyu, hii ni yenyu. Then they go and engage. So that is where I ask myself, and that is the essence of us meeting here. The first question I want to ask the youth, because again, this budget is basically yours. How involved were you in this budget process? Yeah. Now we start talking at this point, which is at the tail end. How involved were we in this process? This process, how many of you, for example, many I'm sure here are university students. And I'm sure one of the questions you will ask me is, how much have you provided for help? Is that not so? How much have you provided for scholarship? Because we also have a component called scholarship. Yeah. And I will answer you, yes, 41.1 billion is for help. 16.9 billion is for scholarship. But the question is, were you involved at the sector meeting? When the sector for education was meeting, how many of you, your leaders, presented your case and said, as you divide this envelope, we want help to be this much because the number of students are increasing. The number of students is increasing. We want this much for scholarship. That probably did not happen sufficiently. So that is the reason why I am very, very excited that we have this youth parliament, so that going forward, you start getting involved at the right time when you can make a difference. Because where we have reached, you may make a difference still, but it will be minimal. So that is how the process runs to budget policy statement in February, and then now we come up with budget estimates. What Treasury does is simply to put together what has been agreed on at the sectoral meetings and then submit the document to the Treasury, to the National Assembly. And I want to conclude by saying that the problem is, how many of us know the difference between the budget estimates and finance bill? You hear many people saying, in this budget, they have increased the cost of bread. Budget can never increase cost of bread. What can increase the cost of bread is the finance bill. And these are totally different.
It should be.
I have my fears it is not. So the budget estimates are different from finance bill. I think that is also something that we need to break down for people to understand. And then we will move forward even to discussing what is it that is in this budget in terms of various, people, targeted, provisions, allocations. in this budget. Because budgets, my understanding, budget is a nation-building tool. Budget should be a cohesion document. Budget should help us to address the regional disparities. Budget should be responsive to all of us. Like, for example, if you are coming, even under health alone, our needs and requirements are totally different. I will tell you that the problems that people in Nyanza face in terms of health, completely, a lot of it is different from the people from northern Kenya. If you go to Nyanza, malaria is such a serious matter. It is not in some areas. Some areas you may find cancer is not a serious matter. HIV is not a serious matter. That is why we have statistics compiled by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to determine how then we should allocate resources. Once you have come up with such information, how then do we direct the resources to address our national concern? Final comments, something also that I wanted to point out at this point is what is the value of security? In an economy, what is the value of security in our budget process? I hear many people say, you put too much money in security. Are we at war? What is it? Why is it that we provide so much money? Right now, we have provided 425 billion to security, almost more than the allocation, half of the allocation we have provided for education, which is 701 billion. But let me tell you, you are only able to enjoy the benefits and your education in an environment that is secure and peaceful. The economy can only grow in an environment that is secure and peaceful. Tourist numbers can only be realized in an economy that is secure and peaceful. Direct foreign investment can only thrive and create employment opportunities to our young generation in a secure and peaceful environment. Right now, if we don't fight Al-Shabaab in Somalia, we will fight them on our soil. And that would destroy our economy in a day. Remember what happened to Dusit, what has been happening at the coast. And if they target just one spot, tourist spot, it will take years again to rebuild. And therefore, so long as we are reasonably managing the resources that we put in security, we should not complain about allocation to security. We can only complain about how effective and efficient are the allocations used under the security docket. I hope I have addressed a little bit what you asked me.
Yes.
You know, politicians, you can go off rail. Yes. You should bring me back.
All right.
If you see me veering off.
I am doing that just now.
Yes.
I believe your right mic is the one that is working. The left one you can give to Muher. Just quickly, you feel free to, of course, tweet about this event. Anything interesting that the CS says that you feel that you need to share. The hashtag to use one more time is Youth Parliament KE. So get tweeting as well. I can't find myself saying X for some reason. I still call it Twitter. How many of you are like me?
I'm very much like you.
All right, so, but as yes, let's now talk where we are at. Finance Bill 2025. What does it have for we young people? And how is it going to complicate our life or make it easier?
Finance Bill 2025, actually, Finance Bill is a yearly bill. It's not a financial year bill. So Finance Bill 2025. Let me start by saying that learning from what happened last year and borrowing from our national tax policy and medium-term debt strategy, the government took a conscious decision when we were coming up with this finance bill, even after listening to Kenyans. Again here, also we got presentation from Kenyans in different ways. A lot of us sent memoranda to us, both physically and even digitally.
Yeah.
And a lot of us presented themselves physically, again, to canvass their issues. Something that we noticed is that Kenyans don't want higher tax rates. So that is the bottom line. Number two is that as a country, we are agreeing that we need a stable, predictable, certain tax regime. Now, that then informed the preparation of our finance bill. That this finance bill has no major adjustments in tax rates. that we are not really using this finance bill to raise more revenue in terms of additional or varied tax system or tax rates. So that is the bottom line. And so before muanguke naye na hii budget yangu, hii finance bill yangu, vile mlianguka na ile ingine, I want you to take your time and just understand what is in it.
Yeah.
And it is a very good question that you have asked. What we have done with this finance bill is simply to make tax system more efficient, to streamline it. Tax administration, that is what it is dealing with. There have been a lot of ambiguities and contradictions in our tax laws. And by the way, if the finance bill is an omnibus bill, it affects or tries to amend various pieces of legislation. We have the Income Tax Act, which is an act of parliament. We have Value Added Tax Act. We have Exercise Duties Tax Act. We also have miscellaneous fees and levies, and we have tax procedures. All these are being amended in a particular way so that we bring clarity, so that we clearly, where there is ambiguity, we make it more clear. So that is one. Number two, we are also targeting a problem that we have identified in our system, which is called tax expenditure. Tax expenditure, simply, you can use a simple terminology and call it tax refunds. A lot of business people, after paying value-added tax and other, then they claim tax refunds from Kenya Revenue Authority, those who are exporting goods, or those who are producing or selling essential commodities. So a lot of these goods, which are essential or exported, are zero-rated. Some are also exempt. There is a difference in those two terminologies, which many people who are not accountants or finance experts don't or have not understood or appreciated. So zero-rated commodities are commodities that are taxed but at 0%. But the beauty with zero-rated commodities is that we have two taxes. There is what we call input tax and output tax under VAT.
Yeah.
Now, under input tax, it means when you are buying whatever you are selling, or when you are buying the raw materials to produce, you pay tax. You pay VAT. And then, when you are selling, you also pay VAT. You also receive, on behalf of government, VAT. Now, the one you are receiving is output. The one you paid is input. Now, for zero-rated commodities, you are allowed to claim the tax that you paid. You are going to charge zero, but you claim any tax that you paid. But on exempts, you don't charge and you don't claim. And therefore, theoretically, exempt commodities should be slightly more expensive than zero-rated. That is why we try to push essential commodities to zero rating. However, we have since determined the following: that one, the benefits of zero rating, a number of times the business people don't pass to the ultimate consumer. So you end up profiting people who are already doing well, if I may use that word. Number two, we are receiving a lot of fictitious and fake claims from business people, the tax cheats. This example has been given a number of times, that people who bake bread prefer employing more accountants than the bakers. Because really they don't need to bake bread. They just need to get smart accountants, maybe like Mbadi, to sit and cook figures and take to KRA, and they get claims paid back. But who is paying that? It is you who is struggling, who doesn't have that privilege of going to KRA to claim. From your meager salary, and allow me to use that, not that I really think that you earn meager salaries. It could be true, it could not be true. But whether you are earning reasonable salary, that is your income for your sweat. It is payment for your labor. you pay that tax, and that tax, instead of being used to provide education to our children, to provide health services to you, to give you better roads and give you water to drink, that tax is used to refund someone who does not have to get that money. Someone who is going to get, who gets that money and invests it for his children and grandchildren. So what I am saying is, how do we minimize that? So this bill is trying to reduce the number of zero-rated commodities. What we are saying is that these essential commodities, let's put them under exempt. And how do we cushion for higher prices in the event that now they are not zero-rated? We have decided that most of the raw materials going into those products are also zero-rated, are also exempt, so that you don't get, the input prices are low and then output prices are low. So just give me 1 or 2 more minutes. And just to say,
on the same.
Yes.
There was report that, in fact, you're targeting some of the NGOs, and this will make their finances condense on the same in terms of zero rating and exempt. Is there anything like that in the bill?
No, I don't see anything like that in the bill. You know, they have been creating so many bills for me. And actually, that is the essence of this engagement also. You know, we have access to information under Article 35. But also, you are required to be factual. Yeah, when you get that access. And so that same Article 35 provides that if I am misrepresented and misreported, I have also a right for deletion of the misreporting and misrepresentation. And by the way, I can also take you to court and charge you for misreporting me and misrepresenting me. But before I go that route, we need to engage to get the correct bill. The correct bill, my bill, does not have some of those things. Like they were saying that I'm going to tax the newborn babies. Those are not, that is not my finance bill. That is finance bill of other people.
Yeah.
But the finance bill of the Republic of Kenya, which is in the National Assembly, has now such provisions.
Okay.
In fact, what we have in that finance bill, a lot of it are also very good. Some of you are in the private sector, aren't you? Today, if your employer provides some allowance to you, in terms of meal allowance, beyond 2,000 you are taxed. I don't know whether you knew that. Beyond 2,000, if your employer gives you more than 2,000, you are supposed to be taxed on that. At the highest level, 35%. However, public servants, SRC has been raising that up. This one of private sector was set more than 8 years ago. We are saying we are moving that from 2,000 to 10,000. We are also saying that if you get gratuity, you work for 5 years, and you are entitled to gratuity or pension, gratuity at 31% of your basic salary for every year worked. You remember how, I know how your employment letters are drafted. Yeah? For every year worked, you get 31%. Yeah, that 31% when you get it at the end of the term, that contract period. Now it is not going to be taxed. It used to be attracting tax. We amended it in December, but the way it was captured, it was like it was only addressing public service schemes. Now we are saying any scheme, whether private or public, you are supposed to enjoy your retirement benefit or gratuity in total gross as you live. That is another thing. And for you in the digital space, so we have reduced the digital assets tax. Yeah, we have reduced it from 3% to 1.5% to conform to turnover tax.
Yeah.
So that there is no discrimination. That is also here. Okay? I can leave it there. We can discuss or debate others as we move forward.
The question of VAT exemptions. In terms of affordable housing, hospital constructions and things like that.
Yes.
What is going on there?
What is going on there is that some of these provisions have been in our laws and they don't make sense. We have been exempting affordable housing, or those who are constructing affordable housing, from paying VAT. What is it that we were exempting them from paying VAT? For affordable housing, for example, materials used in construction, like cement, like steel, etc. Now, one, has this achieved its intended purpose? The answer is no. That is why government is getting involved in affordable housing, because if this achieved its objective, we would not even have public sector involvement in this. We would be having affordable houses all over the place. But most important is the abuse. If today Mbadi registers that I am putting up affordable housing in Ngara, and so I enjoy exemption of the materials used, cement, steel, how will the government ensure that when I buy that cement and steel VAT free or without paying VAT, that cement will land in Ngara and not in a commercial building in Karen? Is it possible? So that is why we are saying some of these exemptions don't achieve the intended purpose. We are just allowing tax leakages, and there is someone bearing that cost. There is no cost without someone bearing it. And the person bearing that cost is the other Kenyan, who is not privileged enough to cheat, who is paying and sweating and paying tax as should be done. Even hostels, you are constructing specialized, they say specialized hostel. I think it was a time maybe we wanted to encourage people to come and invest in some specialized hostels like cancer and the rest.
Yeah.
First of all, how many specialized hostels have been put in the Republic of Kenya? You will find very few, if not none. Two, what guarantee do we have that that cement is going to go to that hostel for the construction? So we are saying some of these advantages have just been abused. And they have no meaning. They are just causing us to waste or leading to revenue leakages. That is why we are removing them.
All right. I hope Shem is ready for his session. But before we come to Shem, I'm wondering, last year the president was targeting to collect over 390-something billion shillings with the finance bill.
Correct.
We didn't make that. This year you're saying we're not targeting to grow our revenue, not targeting to collect as much money through this finance bill, but clean up. I believe last week or so you said it's around 25 to 30 billion shillings you collect with this current finance bill. The worrying question becomes, how then are we financing our budget? Are we collecting enough revenue, or are we going to knock on the doors of the IMF, the World Banks, China's and UAE's of this world to finance our budget?
Thank you. That's a good question. Last year, we had actually projected to collect about 2,912 billion before the Gen Z decided to take us back to where we should be probably. So finally, we revised that down. The first supplementary put it at 2,635 billion. Then that was revised down to 2,580. That is what is in the supplementary too. But I will tell you for a fact that that figure is still going to go down to about 480 billion. I think that is what we have as a projected revenue for this year, the year ending.
Yeah,
because we have now looked, we have now assessed the performance of revenue up to now. We have only 1.5 months left, so we can comfortably say this is what we are going to get. So, under collection. If you look at our revenue projection, the figures that I took to Parliament on 30th of April, we have been revising those figures downwards. We are more realistic now in our revenue projection. The earlier projection with the budget review and outlook paper of last year, we had projected to collect 3,018 billion. I don't know how that was going to be collected. That we brought down to 2,835 billion. Then we brought it, now our projection for ordinary revenue is 2,757. Now, we believe that this is achievable. Why? 3 reasons. Number one, well, the tax laws that amendment this finance bill, we may raise around 25 to 30 billion more because of this sealing the loopholes on tax expenditure, and also streamlining the administration of taxes. But two other reasons. One is that we are making Kenya Revenue Authority more efficient in tax collection by bringing more IT into the space, and the visibility of taxpayers is going to be enhanced. We are going to see most of you who have not been paying taxes, not those who have been paying taxes. We'll be seeing you and will not be harassing you. Once we see you, we'll just tell you, you know, we have seen you. You have this tax here, you have not paid this rental tax, please bring it. Then you'll just bring it. Those of us on personal income tax, PIT. So the visibility will be better. Number three, economy will also generally grow. We project an economic growth of about 5.3%. So with a higher GDP, definitely you will collect more. Now when the economy grows, the reason why we think the economy will grow better is look at what is happening in the weather. The weather has been very kind to us. So the harvesting is going to be better. Agriculture is going to do well, which is one of our leading drivers to economic growth. We are also looking at the financial sector is even deepening better. And that is why some of the provisions in this finance bill, we are trying to give impetus to the financial sector. We want Nairobi to be to be a financial hub. We are also looking at tourism and the such numbers and services industry. Things are not looking bad. But importantly, construction has not been doing very well. But there are certain things that we have done. One of them, the interest rates have been going down, especially the rate at which the government borrowing. When I came into office, we were borrowing at 16%. Government papers, 15%. Right now, it's below 9%. It's going to 8 for 91-day Treasury. So it's no longer a very lucrative. Money market is not as it used to be. Yeah, so I know some of you who have been in money market, you are wondering what has Mbadi done. It is better for the economy as a whole, may not be very good for an individual investing in money market. Now, with that, many more businesses, private sector will be coming in to the space to borrow money because the interest rates have started coming down. Major banks have been reducing the interest rates. But I want to also point out that besides all that with the interest rates, the construction industry has received a boost because of paying the pending bills that have been outstanding. In fact, most of the road contractors are going back to the roads. So with the construction industry coming up, because there were just three sectors which were not doing very well, construction, manufacturing has not been doing as we want, but it has started also showing positive signs from March. And finally, the mining sector, mining and minerals. Again, the government is putting some targeted efforts to make sure that those comes up. With that, if we get 5.something% economic growth, clearly our revenue will come up and we will be able to meet our expenditure. Of course, there is still borrowing. There's borrowing.
How much of it are you borrowing?
How much of it are we borrowing? So listen to this. The total expenditure projection is 4,239 billion. Revenue that we are collecting from ordinary revenue, that is taxes, is 2,757. You add that to the non-tax revenue or appropriation in aid, if you like, 559.9. If you like, you can round it up to 560. That gives you 3,318 billion. Then add 46 that we are going to get as grant, 46 billion. That will still leave you with about 877 as budget deficit. That budget deficit, we intend to get 284 billion from external borrowing, and the remaining 592 from domestic borrowing. Something to note, to be a little happy about, is that that is less than what we have borrowed domestically this financial year, which is now going to about 680.
Does that concern you, thinking in the sense that over the next few years, up to 2030, I believe, we have a lot of loans to pay in terms of Eurobonds and the likes that are maturing over the next few years? Does that worry you, the fact that even now, we're not yet at a place where we can almost cap our borrowing to less than
100?
It concerns me, but it doesn't worry me. And I will explain. It concerns me because I know we are not yet at a point where I am saying comfortably that our debt sustainability is guaranteed. Any economy will borrow. There is no economy that can progress without borrowing. Even the world's leading economies are the biggest borrowers as well. So we'll continue to borrow because we still want to invest in social services and infrastructure and all these other things. For development, human capital, we'll still borrow. Health, education. But we must borrow responsibly and we must borrow within our fiscal framework. Therefore, it concerns me. And from now to 2030, as you said, actually 2032, we are at a point when a lot of these debts are maturing for payment. However, it doesn't worry me because we have a strategy. When you have a strategy, you don't get worried. And the strategy is simple too. Number one, we are consistently reducing budget deficit. That is the best way to deal with debt sustainability. And we started reducing budget deficit a while back, not just when I came into office. Remember, in 2020, 2021, our budget deficit was 8.3% of GDP. The following year, it came down, 2021-22, it came down to 6.2%. 2022-23, it came down to 5.6%. 23-24, it came down to 5.3%. This year, that is ending, I see us at 5.2. We would have done better. Now, from there, you subtract the revenue that we generate locally, domestically. And domestic revenue includes the taxes on you and us. All these taxes, various of them, you know, many taxes that I've mentioned. All that gives you what we call ordinary revenue, all those taxes. Then you add on to it what we call appropriation in aid, or what we call the ministerial appropriation in aid. The other name is non-tax revenue. When you go to get passport, you are charged. When you go to get this, you are charged. Those ones we don't call taxes. So that one we call non-tax revenue. You add on to the tax revenue. Then the last one is if there is a country out there or any institution or whatever which decides to give us grants. Grant is simply support which is not paid back. So if you add all that and you subtract from your expenditure, what remains is the deficit. I hope now I'm clear. And that deficit is only financed through loans. So deficits are financed through loan. Grant, you get deficit after factoring in grant. So that deficit, which is financed through loan, can be external loan or domestic loan. And that is why I gave you the figures of external loan, 284 billion, domestic 592.
All right. If you're watching us online and you have any questions, keep them coming. We are seeing them. We'll be asking them in just a moment. As well as if you have any questions from what you've heard so far, just jot it down. We're coming to you in just a moment. CS, I want you to hear some few things and then you can correct us here. Shem, yeah. I heard that the finance bill plans to increase the fuel. Have you heard the same?
It's giving stories a jabber. It's giving stories a jabber.
CS.
Is it true?
Is the finance bill going to increase the prices of fuel?
Yes, spot on. So, stories are? You only stories are jabber.
Shem, housing levy inasikia inapanda to 3%. Wanasema housing levy pia itapanda. Already is at around 1.5 right now. Is there plans to double?
Housing levy is at 1.5 and the beauty with it is now it is giving you a relief. We are not intending to increase it, but in December what we did is to now include it among the tax relief items. So actually, if you look at now, can I just give an example? I want to be as simple as possible.
Go ahead.
You know, if this housing levy, if you're earning 100,000, let me just give that example. If you're earning 100,000, housing levy is 1,500. Before that amount, you would have received it as your salary. But it would have been taxed. I don't know whether we are together. If there was no housing levy, that money was part of your salary, it would have been taxed. Yeah. And so that 1,500, if you are earning 100,000, 30% would have not actually gone to your pocket. That is the one reality that people are not appreciating. So take 1,500 and remove 30%. It comes to about 450. You would have only received 1,050. But now, given the fact that now we have already taken it from you, 1,500, we are not taxing you again on it. Before the December, we were taxing you with that money in your pay, and then we are taking it. So it is like we were double taxing you. But with the Tax Laws Amendment Act that was passed in December, now it has become allowable for tax purposes. So, to come back to your question, housing levy, no addition. It is still at 1.5%.
I mean,
and we don't intend to increase it.
You know, us have, as you said, it seems like we have our own finance bills. But someone else is also saying motor vehicle tax that was proposed last year has found its way back to this finance bill.
What we used to call motor vehicle circulation tax. If there is any one tax that can never find its way back to any bill which I prepare, it is that tax.
Why?
Because I don't understand it. You know, and it was under income tax. There is no way you can put an asset tax as income tax. By the fact that I drive a car, it's not an income. So how do you charge me for driving a car? Just having my car. That you charge me is like an insurance every, and then you tell me that that is income tax. It did not make sense. I don't know where it came from. And I've asked, many people are also saying they don't know where it came from, but let me leave it there. This is a tax that I don't know who introduced it in our system. It will not be there, so long as I'm still the CS National Treasury.
Shem, nasikia sasa ukinitumia thao ndio inaweza kuwa inapunguzwa katwa zaidi. It's another thing I heard by the way. Vitu mob zinaenda kwa mtandao. CS.
If you,
the amount of money deducted when the tax on transactions.
Transaction costs.
Is also
that is the one, the transaction cost.
Yes.
I think they must be referring to all the bills that were provisions in the bills that were defeated previously. Yeah, those are not in our current finance bill. Remember, we left so many things that have been controversial. I say this finance bill must be as people-friendly as possible. In fact, what wametafuta, the naysayers, wamenitafuta, and unfortunately for them, they won't find me.
Yeah.
Because I know what Kenyans need.
Yeah.
And by the way, the cabinet was very responsive. And we went through this bill with the Senate, first committee, full House committee. Then we went to the full committee, chaired by the President, item by item. And we are satisfied that this is a bill that is not going to hurt mwananchi.
All right. I want to open the floors. And as we do that, CS, that KRA thing where you said you're coming for us, we who have been, you know, in the gray areas, you're integrating KRA with systems of employers, companies, and things like that. There is a lot of concern about data. I mean, what can you tell us?
You know, I have KRA guys here.
All right.
I will ask one of them. He's a very smart gentleman.
All right.
Also to add. I will ask him if you allow me to come.
Yes, it's all right.
To add. But let me just say this as he prepares to come. You know, this amendment of Section 59 to B. I hope I've got it correct.
I believe so, yes.
This is an amendment that this is a provision which was not there in the first place. It was brought in an amendment, I think, last year. I think the KRA guy, you will correct me if I'm wrong. And don't feel shy, just correct me. That is the policy at the Treasury today.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one has monopoly of ideas and information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was introduced in Parliament, National Assembly. Already, if you look at the Data Protection Act, it's so robust, has explained the steps that you have to take before you get data. And KRA is not excluded from the provisions of data protection. But then someone mischievously comes and introduces an amendment that makes KRA completely ineffective by saying that if you have some trade secrets, financial trade secrets, then that information, for you to get that information, again a long process which will take years for KRA just to get some information that they need to be able to assess the correct tax payable. Because let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this country, we should also not allow tax cheats to hide behind laws to run away from paying what they should pay. And by the way, majority of us here don't have the privilege of hiding behind these laws to evade tax or even to avoid it. But this is actually evasion. But a few people hide behind this. Because sometimes I ask myself, if you don't define what a trade secret is, what is it that would be considered as trade secret? Everything. Someone would just go and argue that this is a trade secret. And you know, we have had some provisions in our laws, some of which you'll agree with me, would just hinder and stop collection of taxes. I will give you another example. Today, if there is tax dispute and you go to the tribunal and you lose the case against KRA, what you need to do to delay paying that tax is to simply file an appeal. Even without getting order, KRA will not collect tax from you. So what many taxpayers do is they lose the case and they know they have no grounds really to win the case, but they go to court just to delay collection of taxes. And then the net effect of that is that we may end up not collecting any tax in this country. And what would be the effect? So I want to call this gentleman, please come near me here. I don't know, maybe you can stand there and just take a minute or two to tell these good people, these great Kenyans, why have you thought it wise to remove or to suggest to us that we amend that law?
Start with your name, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Nixon Omondi, KRA Digital Economy Tax Office. All of us now have a digital way of accessing our either bank statements or M-Pesa statements. For those who had bank accounts in the olden days, if you needed your statement, you have to go to the bank, make an application, and then you access your statement. But now you can get your statement at the convenience of wherever you are, okay? So what KRA has been doing over the years with respect to the law that is being proposed to be amended is that if KRA wants to know, for example, PAL's records, whether they are declaring their fair share of tax, is to ask them for their bank account. And then PAL's will provide us with the details of their bank statement. So we look at the bank statement, see how much money has gone in there, compare with what they are declaring as their income, and if there are any variances, we always come back and ask you, why are there these differences? So it's not that KRA will just find your bank account and say, this is the tax you are paying. Based on, of course, the law, if you read Article 47 of the Fair Administration Action, KRA has to give you an opportunity to be heard. So what KRA is doing, and that is the amendment that came up with the Tax Law Amendment Act in 2024 December, was to say, instead of KRA asking you every now and again to give the same statement, why not the bank give us that statement in advance so that these people who are tax cheats, as the CS is explaining, can then be, fished out in good time. So then the act was amended in such a manner that even the KRA PIN, KRA cannot obtain that data from the bank. And this is the information that KRA itself gives. So even it's like telling you that you cannot access your phone number, and that is your phone number. Or it's like telling Safaricom, you cannot access the phone number that you gave a subscriber. So that is what the law has done, and it's to tie KRA's hands in dealing with tax cheats and those who are doing money laundering. Thank you.
So for someone with a small business, I have an SME somewhere in town, I employ 3-4 people. Will I also be a target of this law, or is it just for big multinational companies?
Remember, tax is not just for specific people. All of us have a collective responsibility to build our country, Kenya. So if I'm being taxed on my 30,000 salary, then a multinational should also be taxed on their 100 billion income. So the law is not discriminative, it's to take care of every taxpayer in Kenya.
Will businesses be required to do anything, or is this on you guys? When this is assuming the law actually passes. What will businesses be required to do to ensure they comply with the law?
At that stage, the business will not be required to do anything. It is the people whom KRA will require or request to integrate with who will then give us the information. But remember, all this information has to flow to KRA in line with the Data Protection Act of 2019. The KRA has already instituted a data governance office to ensure that any data we receive, including what we have now, is handled in line with the law. And in case KRA is not immune from many penalties from the Data Commissioner, if we handle any data in a manner that goes against the law.
The biggest concern has been, of course, some time back, I believe it's last year, there were hacks that targeted several government institutions. So if businesses make themselves open to you, they risk losing their data from hacks and things like that. What is KRA doing to at least assure us here that our data will be safe?
I would ask you that, has your PIN been misused? Because that's part of data that KRA keeps.
Yeah.
So in that manner, any information we have, and we have financial information of all companies in Kenya, all individuals, including your pay details, and that is kept in line with the Data Protection Act.
So
yes.
What you're saying here today is we will be safe.
Very safe.
All right.
And the CS is here to assure you more.
I will assure you that KRA is acting professionally and within the law, and will always make sure that the data that they get, and by the way, even presently, they receive information, they get data, and they keep it and they use it responsibly only for tax assessment.
There's a question that I've just received, and I feel it's fair for me to ask this question. We've seen Elon Musk in the US take a very big chainsaw and go into government offices and, cut a lot of expenditure, saving money. You yourself here have said that the government is spending a lot and we need to kind of reduce our appetite on a lot of things. Is there a plan to do something like that within your tenure? Are you thinking about it?
We are actually already having processes to do that in place. We may not do it the Musk style, which, with all due respect, may be a bit mechanical, but we are methodical. Let me tell you, one of the areas that we have identified, so there are a couple of things we are doing. Number one is we introduced a budgeting process which we feel is going to help in addressing wastage. That is the zero-based budget. Over the years, what MDS have been doing is they look at the budget that they have for a financial year and put a markup that added by 3%. No justification at all why that is happening. Now, the present budget has been prepared and we put in place in IFMIS a system or an application which was ensuring that every shilling proposed for expenditure was justified and the prices harmonized. So that's the first step. So if you're buying, for example, a table of similar description, it should be uniform. The price should be uniform in government. We don't have Ministry of Water buying it at a different price, Ministry of Health at a different price, and another MDA, say, pipeline at a different price. Secondly, on 7th of April, we launched a system,
EGP.
which we call EGP. This is end-to-end procurement electronic system. We have had manual system over the years where for you to submit your bids and tenders, you have to carry cartons and cartons of documents on your head, and take them and they are put somewhere and they are paginated. If, for example, I want you to lose, it's very easy for me if I'm in the procurement department. What I do is if I realize you have quoted a more competitive price compared to the person that I wanted to win the tender, I would just pluck one page from your document and then you lose. Or take away tax compliance documents from KRA and then we claim that you did not file it. Or if you fail just to number the pages, 1, 2, 3, that alone can knock you out. What we are saying is we are going to have a system, and this is beginning July 1st. As we speak, we are onboarding the over 3,000 MDS into this system. And we are training users today, including suppliers. They are being trained as we speak. From 1st July, every procurement will be on this platform. Even if you are in South Africa, you can still bid, you can still tender, and you will be seeing how people have tendered. It is going to be very transparent and accountable. Even evaluation, you will just know for yourself, this one I've lost. So that we cut on costs where tenders are manipulated, because that is where we lose money. And experience has shown elsewhere that such a system, when it is implemented, the first year of its implementation, you cut on between 10 and 15% of the costs of procurement or procured items for that year. If we spend 1 trillion, you'll be able to spend about 100 or 150 billion. Kenya, it may even be more. From the way I see it, we may even save more. So that is one way of cutting cost. It is more methodical, it is to me more professional than simply moving around and telling people, we don't want you in this office, you are too many, go home. I don't think that is desirable.
So no job losses, are you assuring us no job losses in the government in the coming financial year?
Well, maybe I don't see more job losses, because even the SOE reforms that we are bringing, we are saying that those who are working in these parastatals or state-owned enterprises, which we are either merging, dissolving, or reassigning their functions to other government ministries. The staff working in those institutions will then be absorbed elsewhere in government. Because even right now, you see people recruiting. So instead of government recruiting more, we will be reassigning these employees so that we don't lose. But even if some people will have to go home, they should be going home in a more structured manner and maybe paid through an agreement. But we are not anticipating any job losses in 2025-26.
All right. I hope you've been listening keenly, because there are rewards for those who have been listening. So at this juncture, we're going to ask a round of questions. And if you get it right, not us asking, not you. We'll come to you in just a moment. So we're going to ask you a round of questions. And if you get the questions right, Shem, what do they get?
They will be receiving a special gift. We're going to keep it a surprise for now. Ndio ikiingia kwa mkono ushtuke kidogo. We don't wanna pop the balloon right now already. But you will be receiving something nice courtesy of the digital publishers in the room. Right, so I'm going to be heading over on this side. Now, as Sam said, my name is Shem Wikia. I am a journalist here at Pulse Kenya. And before we get into the reward segment of this show, I just want us to, I just want to engage you guys a bit. We're going to be testing whether you've been paying attention, yes, and we're going to be rewarding you. But I'm also just curious, because a lot of things have been said here in terms of how you guys are receiving this information. So I'm going to ask a few people to introduce themselves, of course, and then I just want you to tell me what it is that you've learned. But first, let me just, hata sijawasalimia. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ama that's too old. Niseme, my youth, mpo! Mpo! Okay, pia mi niko, na pia tuko wako. So ukipita kwa ofisi unaweza pata hawako. So, anyway, so I just want a few people here, especially people who have been listening keenly, someone to just tell me how they feel about the conversation so far, and also what they feel like they've learned so far from the conversation that we have been having. Okay, now we're going to be raising hands. Who's okay? He raised his hand first. Now, I'm just gonna bring you the mic myself for now. But if we have the other mic, all right. This is our other lovely host. Her name is Mudhoni Rongo.
Mpo.
Aya, sema tena.
Mayouth mpo.
Bas. Okay, so
Energy.
I'd like to kindly request you to hand over the mic to the gentleman in blue. So you start by telling us who you are. I'm happy that umesimama pia. Ni vizuri usimame tukuone. And then you can tell me how you're feeling about the conversation that we've been having today. Okay, hold on. Ngoja, nataka kusikia kenye unasema. I can use mine.
Good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel Mudhama. I come from Makueni, a representative of Makueni University Student Association. I'm also a foreign policy student. The session is so informative. I thank CS for elaborating the difference between zero rating and tax exempt. Thank you so much.
Who else would like to tell me? Okay, she has raised her hand. So we'll go you, and then we'll come to you. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Ashley Rono from Baringo, Deputy President in charge of Strategy and Communication, Association of County Student Presidents, Kenya. I'm also a third year student at the University of Nairobi. And today's session has been really great. We are from a society, a youth generation, where we think we know more, but we don't know the facts. We are here with the misinformation. And having these forums like this, we get to know more and to get those fine details which we need. At least now KRA has assured us that our data will be safe. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we had one other gentleman over here. All right, so your time is now.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Arnold Nyamwea. I'm from the University of Nairobi. I do everything except conning people and killing people. Yes, let me be realistic. If we had such kind of sentiment that we have right now, I think even the protest of 2020 last year couldn't have happened. Because in a layman's language, this man is explaining. Mimi, for the first time in 5 years, nimekaa hapa for 1 hour kama sijaguza simu yangu, listening to you. One, I've learned a lot, you know. Even last year, I didn't know how much we were about to contribute or maybe to raise as a country. But I've learned, I've known. The second thing is, I've understood that there are more ways of raising revenue apart from taxing the people. There are more ways generating revenues apart from oppressing people, you know. I think for the first time, second or the third time, we are feeling that this institution called the Ministry of Treasury is not oppressing the normal people. Because kusema tu kweli, from the previous times you have felt oppressed, can't hajakuwa na information, hakujakuwa na platform ya raise our voices. So thank you so much. That's what I wanted to say, and thank you for coming down here to us and speaking to us for the first time. Pia mimi naenda huko Nyamira niambie watu that at least I can educate you about the finance bill. Na pia I can also, if given opportunity, I can seek more time to sit with you and also learn on ways we are going to broaden our spaces to raise more revenue for our country. So thank you so much.
Okay. So first of all, let me just say thank you to everyone who has stood up to say something here. At least I see we have a confident group of people in the room. Now, the time comes for us to ask, for me, not us, for me to ask you questions. Or did you want to introduce yourself as well? You want to say something? Okay, so I will be opening the floor for questions from the audience.
Tutakupeleka na mutaratara.
Yes.
Tutakupeleka na mutara.
Yes. The time is coming. For now tunataka tu ku break the formality kidogo. Sasa tu switch, mimi niwaulize maswali tuone kama mmeshika hizi vitu tumekuwa tukisema. Now we have a few questions here. So how this is going to work is I'm going to ask a question. Alafu itakuwa first come first served, right? So I'll ask a question. You will raise your hand. Whoever I see first, I have people here who can. You answer the question. If you're in the audience and you feel like the person has gotten the question wrong, you can also raise your hand and give us your answer. And then finally, the CS, John Mbadi, will now clarify for us kama umesema ukweli ama umesema uongo.
Atakuwa marking scheme.
Bas, tuko na marking scheme pale. Usijui kama iko kwa budget yetu. Pia si tunapanga budget.
Tutakuona kando.
Pia si bado tunapanga budget. Okay, so you know, we've listened to a lot of things here, you know. We've talked about money, finances. Who pays taxes? Do you pay taxes? Sitaki kukuseti kwa watu wa KRA, nauliza tu. Nalipanga taxes? But that doesn't matter right now. We just want to know if you pay attention. So, the first question is, it's more based on the things that have been discussed, but also the general topic of the day. So my first question is, now, I would like to understand, what is the difference between the budget and the finance bill? Nani ako na jibu? Mikono. Okay, to be honest, his was fast.
Kindly stand up, introduce
so
yourself.
please stand up. You can introduce yourself if we haven't already had your name, but naona nikaa tunakujua. But yes, so difference between the budget and the finance bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Munaita. The difference between the budget and the finance bill is that the budget is an approximation of how much the government is going to collect in terms of revenue and also spend, while the finance bill is the strategy laid out on how they're going to raise the funds they would want to spend.
Okay.
Amepata hajapata?
Ngoja. Acha msema kweli.
That one, there is no need for any other clarification. It's got it right, spot on, simple, brief, and clear.
All right, congratulations, courtesy of Digital Publishers Association.
Okay. Unaona tunasema na tunatenda. Tumepatiana. Anyway, all right. So my next question is, mko ready? Raise your left hand if you're ready. Yeah, I don't even know the difference between my right and left. I'm sorry. I failed that one. Okay. All right. So the next question is something that someone in the back had actually mentioned in terms of what they finally understood today. I would like to understand, what is the meaning? No, sorry. Let me clarify. What is the difference between zero-rated and tax exempt? He raised his hand first, but pia alikuwa amesema that's what he learned. So to be honest, ilikuwa ni kama yeye ilikuwa yake.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity again. Also to elaborate the difference between tax exempt and zero rating. In zero rating, these are goods that they are basic commodities that the common mwananchi uses, and they are exempted from tax. The zero rating, that people don't pay the input and the output tax. But in tax exempt, these are goods that are exempted from tax, but you cannot claim the refunds from KRA. But in the first one, you can claim the refunds, and that's why we have those bread bakers. They have been using that to exhort the government.
Okay. Does anyone have a contention? Kuna mtu anataka kuongezea kwa jibu yake?
Amepata hajapata?
Okay. Msema kweli?
Yeah, just my friend, congratulations, you got it. And if I was to give you marks, I would give you 80%. The other one got 100%. I would give you 80%. Just sit so that I can explain a bit. No, I'll explain. Yes. 80%. You know, I'm the teacher, so I may need to. So zero rating, you got it right. It is you pay tax at zero. You pay VAT, but at zero. So you charge VAT if you are selling the item, 0%. But you paid when you are buying the item. So whatever you pay, you claim it after selling. And I will give an example. Exempt, you don't pay VAT. And if there is any VAT that you paid on the same thing, you are not allowed to claim refund, isn't it? So let me explain. If table is zero rated, table is zero rated, a table, there's a normal table. For you to get the table, you have to get the wood, timber, you have to get the nails, you have to get the glue. So all those things you are buying to make the table, you pay VAT on them. When you are selling the table, if it's rated, you don't charge VAT to the person buying it. But you will come back and claim your VAT that you paid when you were buying timber, you are buying glue, you are buying what? Now, if it is exempt, this is the difference. You pay tax on glue, timber, and nails, and when you are selling the table, you don't charge. The same way you didn't charge the other one. Now, the difference is, for exempt, you will not claim what you paid when you are buying the raw materials. I think now I'm even clear. Yeah, I wanted to give that example so that we get it very clearly. And that is why they say that exempt commodities may be more expensive than zero-rated, because the zero-rated person goes back and items, you go back and claim those ones. Now, where we had a problem is you may also make fictitious claims.
Aya, hapo amejaribu. Memark paper yake. We'll talk to the team. Tuone kama mwalimu pia kuna budget yake. But see, hatuko sure. No guarantees, no guarantees. Okay, so I have one final question before we get to, I'm sure, what most people are waiting for, which is, of course, the session where we allow you guys to ask the questions that you have. Now, my final question is, now, if you have been paying attention to the conversation that we have been having, what is first come, first serve? Unajua ni ya mwisho. Ndio, the last gift, unless unaweza niona kando, tuongee, kama unanijua vizuri. Okay, all right, so the last question is, what is the meaning of tax expenditure? What is the meaning of tax expenditure? Okay, so the gentleman in the white shirt raised his hand first. Ama ilikuwa ni VAR? Not VAR. Okay. So, the gentleman in the white shirt, please let us know.
Hi everyone. Oh, nilikuwa nimewasalimia before, si ndio? I thought I was rushing to raise the hand so that someone else can raise the hand, but it's okay.
You can hand it over if you...
No, I can explain. It's not a secret. Yeah, I'm a scholar.
Okay.
I can explain, yeah? You asked about tax expenditure.
What is the meaning of tax expenditure?
The tax expenditure, from my understanding, is... okay, can I give not even an example, an explanation, so that you can get from what you're asking.
Okay, let's go.
The CS explained when I think a question came about how the deficit comes in, and then he said that there's a projection of what we want to raise as a country. You get? And then in that projection, we add the amount of money that we raise as a country, plus grants, and the loans that are being borrowed internally. And then the remaining is the external loan. You get? Now, the tax expenditure comes in when you are planning on how to use the money that you have raised. You understand? I don't know whether I'm making sense, but I believe I am.
Aya, umemalizia hapo? Ama
yes,
bado
maybe let me make a final thing. Eh?
Yes, okay.
So, from my thing is, the total money that is being collected from the tax that we earn, I mean the tax that the government collects, I think that's the expenditure.
Okay, Aya, yes. So we have someone who wants to contend the answer, but the gentleman in the black shirt raised his hand right after him when the question was being asked, so I'm going to give priority to him. All right. So you can start by introducing yourself. Hatujakupata jina yako, hatujui ni nani bana.
My name is Dennis. I'm a journalist, and I think tax expenditure is the amount of money the government spends to pay back refunds claimed by those people who file VAT claims and other things. That is borne by the taxes we pay.
Umekubaliana na hiyo? Okay. All right. So there were two gentlemen who gave answers on what tax expenditure is. Could you please clarify what it is? Na nani alipata hiyo jibu?
Now my marking scheme. My friend here has really made an attempt, but he was trying to explain the budget deficit instead of the tax expenditure. That is budget deficit, where you add all the money that we collect, whether tax or non-tax, and you add to grant, then subtract, then you get budget deficit, which is equivalent to the loans that we take. So that is budget deficit. But tax expenditure, he is spot on. Tax expenditure is simply what the government spends in making, in compensating for tax claims, the tax refunds. In fact, the simplest terminology is refunds. So you make claims to government, I've paid this much beyond what I should pay. By the way, it is not just VAT alone. Even income tax, sometimes you may overpay, isn't it? By the way, allow me just 1 minute. You see, we presently have provisions in law which allows certain things as tax relief. One of them is if you take a mortgage to construct, to buy a house, you up to 30%, up to 30,000 per month of interest you pay on mortgage is allowable for tax purposes. It gives you tax relief. And it's SHA gives you tax relief. Housing levy gives you tax relief. However, there is nothing that compels the government, the employer, today to deduct that tax relief in computing your tax. So you find some employers just deduct tax, even on things that you are supposed to get relief on, and remit to KRA. By the end of the financial year, when you file your tax returns, you are supposed to claim if you overpaid. And that will also be tax expenditure. Although now we are amending the law and we're making it mandatory, compulsory, criminal for any employer to fail to deduct any relief that has been given to employee. If your employer now fails to deduct relief in computing your tax and overtax or charges you higher tax than you should pay, they will be violating the law. That is in this finance bill. That's why I say this is a very pro-people finance bill. Si hata unaona, truthful men have nothing to say about it. Yeah, even truthful men have very little to say about it. Thank you. I hope I've marked. So if I was a present, don't give him, give him.
Okay.
Okay, congratulations, courtesy of Digital Publishers Association.
Okay, all right. So, as I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for paying attention. Thank you so much for being in this room today. We will be moving over to the next segment. So we have, we're going to be getting some questions from the audience that we have here. And also, if you're watching us online, we're going to be taking some of your questions as well. We'll be handing over to Muthoni and Sam to curate this questions that will be taken from you guys in the audience. So please stay ready kama mko na maswali. And Sam, Muthoni, over to you.
Watu ni wengi, maswali ni mengi. Masaa ndio machache, tuanze wapi?
Or
the lady in red.
I think we just stand for this one. So let's start both of us. Yes, let's start here. Let's start here. Yeah. We have seen very few. This is yours.
So we wanted to start with the lady in red.
Yes.
Kindly introduce yourself and ask the question.
So the first,
we take one here. Yeah, we can just respond on.
So I respond immediately as we move.
Okay. Yes.
I think that will break monotony.
First of all, it's a pleasure to be part of this great forum. My name is Juliana Olayo, CEO Open Talk. We are celebrating International Boy Child Day, Sindio. Lakini, as I stand here, I got an award the other day. It was for East African Thamani, Mental Health Champion. And it's been a journey. So when I stand here before you, I stand from a point of respect. I stand saying that the boy child is suffering. The boy child is suffering, and I am sure, Mr. Mbadi, you are a very intelligent CS. Nimekufuata siku mingi na tunakuheshimu kwa kazi mzuri umefanya. Mungu amekubariki na akili, si ndio? Vijana wanaumia. Me, when I stand here, I won an award, but I'm sad. Because what kind of an award did I win? An award of fighting mental illness of our young people. These boys and girls that you see stand or sitting before us, they are suffering. I am sure we've shared enough ideas. When I was in the National Youth Council as a delegate, we've been giving ideas on what needs to be done. On mental health awareness, my question would be, what budget allocations since 2021 to now 2025? We are really struggling with budgeting in regards to even taking our youth to hospitals, our youth to access, pardon?
Yeah, just continue.
Okay, for our youth to access or to access mental care in this country, for them to get better, it's almost 100,000.
Yeah.
The same youth, the trigger is unemployment and suffering and lack of what to do. So my question is, what budget allocations do you, from the deepest part of your heart, have they allocated for this particular thing? Because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I pray that as we celebrate this day, we don't celebrate days, we celebrate the success stories of making sure that our youth are doing better.
Could we keep it short so that we can allow more to ask the question?
Kindly.
So your question is specifically, how
What
much
budget allocations
allocation
are
to
there
mental
for
health?
mental health,
All
yes.
right, quick one, yes. Just please keep it brief, very brief, and it has to be about the finance bill, the budget, nothing more than that, right?
My name is Wavinya Makai, a recent graduate from the University of Cambridge. I did a Masters of Philosophy in Development Studies and a research on politics of money and finance. Now mine is about the debt. We know there's a lot of conditions that Kenya and African countries face when they're getting external debts. So what is this administration, with your guidance, doing to ensure that we are not always being perceived as the high-risk countries, and yet when we allow foreigners to come in to do investment, we de-risk them from paying whatever they're supposed to pay? So what are we going to do to ensure development actually happens in this country, in this continent? And I think Kenya is like a swing state to ensure that everything is going to work. So kindly address on matters of debt.
Mental health and debt, Bwana CS, mental health, pesa ngapi?
Thank you. First of all, I was actually looking at my data, and I will agree with you that I'm looking at the budget lines and I'm not seeing one that is clearly for mental health or giving specific attention to mental health. You can talk about primary health, there's provision for that and all that, but specifically to deal with mental health, we have provisions here for maternity, for vaccination, for all kinds of budget lines. We have here cover here for expansion of comprehensive cancer, adult human vaccination, construction of a cancer center, global fund, malaria, digital health platform, but nothing specifically for mental health. Now that brings me to the question that I started with, that we need to be more involved in budget process in terms of advocacy, because if no one speaks for this segment of health, this kind of health challenge which we have, the mental health, then it will not be captured during the sectoral engagement. As I told you, budget is a process which is more involved at the sectoral meeting. That takes place between October and November. So I would only advocate, I've taken note of your concern, and we may follow it, because again, budget does not end today. The budget will go through Parliament. We can make small adjustments, not major, and I'm sure there will be other mini budgets coming in. But now for the next financial year, which will be 26-27, I think that you allow your voice should be louder and for mental health. And I will agree with you. I am a father I have 3 girls, very beautiful, and a very handsome boy, and I know what you are talking about, and I will not go beyond that. on the issue of debt management, you know, as I said before, we will always go for debts. Countries go for debts. America borrows money. China borrows money. Everybody borrows money. It only depends on two things. What do you borrow money for? What are you doing with it? And what is the cost? That is what now sets apart China from African countries and America from African countries. Because one, sometimes we get the ration in our borrowing. We borrow for the long. None of you here, if you are good. No, I want to be very careful. No? If you are prudent enough, you would not go to the bank to borrow money to come and clean you. So in the country, borrow money and invest in productive sector. That is number one. Number two, borrow cheaply. So the cheapest loan is usually multilateral, if not grant. Then bilateral. Then, before you exhaust multilateral, unfortunately, it is becoming thinner and thinner. The multilateral loans are becoming thinner and thinner. But I want to give you comfort. First, we have started on tightening. For the first time, we read budget that came from MDS by 120 billion. I don't think it has ever happened. Because we wanted to live within our means. We wanted not to go beyond 4.5% of the deficit to GDP ratio. Because that is the starting point if we want to realize debt sustainability. Two, we are exhausting all the cheaper loans first before we go for anything else. And we are also trying to improve our economy in a way that even domestically we borrow responsibly. And we are also working on other macros and fundamentals like the exchange rates, and that is where I'll end. The exchange rates plays a significant role, contributes a lot to our indebtedness or our debt level, especially external debt. And this is the example. Last year, around March, we had external debts stock, total debts of over 6 trillion. It went down to almost 5 trillion by shilling appreciating from 160 to the dollar to 129, 130. So the currency, foreign currency, can expose a country so badly if it is not well managed. And that is why one of the things that Central Bank of Kenya is doing is to look at our currency and make sure that it works. But it cannot work for CBK if Treasury does not play its role. What almost crashed the shilling was the carelessness, I would say, of decision makers, where we did not even think to prepare for Eurobond that was falling due for payment in June. By February, we still had no strategy on how to settle it. And that is why this year you had that we issue a Eurobond early enough to settle the Eurobond of 2027, because we don't want to again take Kenyans along that route. Come 2027, the Eurobond will have already been cleared. We are now thinking of the 2028 one, so that we manage our debts that are falling due, that are maturing, without exposing our economy to unnecessary shocks. Thank you.
Let's come to this side. We've taken a few from that side. Muthoni, this side. And please keep your questions very short, very short. This gentleman here, there's a gentleman right at the back there, and this gentleman here.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to stand before the CS today. I'm Kahindi James Kalama from Kilifi County, leading an association known as Kilifi County Comrade Association, and I'm also a member for ACSAP Kenya. We as an association, first, we strongly believe that attendance or attending is not participating, and participation is not representation, and representation is not engagement, and engagement is not action, and action is not impact. My main concern to you, CS, is that we heard you, I saw you in an interview, JK Live, and you see whatever we are discussing here is affected by corruption. and you said that if the leaders or the leaders can reduce or can cut off corruption by 50%, then as a nation we'll be able to manage the debt that we are discussing. So my concern is you are sitting at a decision-making table. Why was this coming to you as a proposal to Kenyans? Yet you have that platform to take that responsibility and take actions to ensure that the leaders that we have are not corrupt. So that is what I have to ask you, and it's a pleasure again to stand before you. Thank you.
Please, let's keep our questions about the finance bill and the budget. There's this gentleman here and the gentleman right at the back there.
Hi guys, my name is Brian Mbunde. Kenya is like a matatu. You are the conductor, Ruto is the driver. Each and every year, we have all these corruption stories. Wendo makanga. Wendo makanga, because at the end of the day, before nipande hii matatu, wendo nasema, tao ni ngapi? Mbao. Lakini nikiingia, utasema ni 30. Na nikiingia huko ndani, kuna wezi, si ndio? Hao wezi wananiibia. Shida ni, wewe ndio conductor. Na wewe ndio unajua kuna wezi kwa hii matatu. How come waombi dere, hebu shukisha, hao wezi washikwe. So in the next finance bill, as a CS, how are you going to address public concerns about corruption and economic inequality? Because amesema hii mwaka hatuendi maandamano, but last year the biggest reason was there's so much cash that is being budgeted for, but we still have thieves. Your N is going down. Moi University is going down. How are we going to address this issue?
Final question at the back there. Could you speak up, please? We can't hear you.
Good afternoon. I feel privileged to get this opportunity to ask our CS Treasury, John Mbadi. I have 3 questions for you.
Hey, just one question.
I'll be specific and short and precise.
What's your name again?
My name is Colin Skogi from Business Today.
All right, just one question.
Okay. One CS, we have seen that in this budget, content creators are being taxed, whereas their infrastructures are being underfunded. What are you going to do to address that issue? The second question is, in this economy, in this country, we have 75% of the population are youths. You have allocated only 2% to the youth funds. What are you going to do about it? And
right, thank you. Let's allow others to ask a question, please.
What is the fiscal, how does increasing VAT on essential align with the economic survival of the generation that is already battling joblessness?
All right, thank you so much. Bwana CS, let's him first respond to the questions, please. So, where do we start? Wewe ni makanga, Ruto ni dereva, kuna wezi kwa gari, na wezi hawaambiwi shuka. So, what are you doing kuambia wezi washuke?
Yeah, so first of all, let me maybe put this thing in perspective, because when I said it, some either for mischievous reasons tried to change the narrative and say that I said that people should steal 50%. No, I actually just gave an example that if it is true, and I want to repeat it, if it is true that we lose 2 billion per day, I may not vouch for that figure. It was mentioned by former president, who has all the instruments, including NIS, and he said that we are losing like on average 2 billion per day. So, but I know we lose money per day. I may not vouch for the 2 billion. Now, I said, look, and I was I brought this to address the issue of going to borrow money from outside. And I said, we borrow money, external borrowing at that time was 354 billion. That's what we had put in our budget. And I asked this question. If it is true that we lose 2 billion per day, assuming and suppose that we reduce that to 1 billion, that we only lose 1 billion per day and we save the other 1 billion, meaning we don't lose it. That will be 360 something billion per year. Then I said I would not need to go to Washington to go and beg money from IMF, World Bank, nimenyonga tai, ninapanda ndege, so many hours from here to Dubai for 5 hours, another 13 hours to Washington, failing to sleep, to go and beg for money that we could get locally here by just reducing our appetite for stealing public funds. That's what I meant. I did not ask Kenyans to steal half. I only gave an example. And I said, please, if we can afford it, and we can, let us not steal even a shilling. So what action am I taking? You know, the government will take actions. The government will come up with the laws. The government will come up with institutions, DCI, EACC. All this will be coming for you. But let me tell you, the best way to deal with corruption is by changing our habits. It's just behaving responsibly, being moral. I have given this example, allow me to give it again.
All right.
That I was in Singapore. I've been to Singapore about 3 or 4 times, 3 times, I think. No, 4 times. One time, I went to have lunch in a very normal kiosk, very normal restaurant, not a kiosk. And when I finished, I realized I didn't have the local currency. I had the US dollars. But they were not taking US dollars. So I asked them, is there a bureau, a place where I can exchange? First thing that surprised me, they told me, yes, you can exchange here, but here the terms are not as good as if you walk some distance. And they showed me around 300 meters away, that if you go there, you will get better rates. That I realized cannot happen in Kenya. I don't know whether I'm misreporting or misrepresenting Kenya, but I don't think you will find it in many places in Kenya. Number 2, which again surprised me, they told me you can go there, get change, and come back and pay. So I expected them to give me someone to go with, so that to ensure that I come back. As I was walking and I'm looking back, I'm just alone. I went, got the change in local currency, came back and paid. How many Kenyans would trust anybody else? More particularly, even if not a stranger, even someone you know, to go with money 300 meters away after eating your food, to come back and pay you. I don't know how many people would trust. Even if that person would really come back, you don't trust it. That is the kind of life that is there. That is the difference between being in that country and being in Kenya. What if we copy something like that and apply here? Wouldn't we have a better country? Do we really need EACC? Will we really need DCI? Will we really need CS for finance to answer your questions why corruption is not being fought? It is just a conscious decision. And by the way, it almost happened in this country if we didn't drop the ball. In 2002, I was here, 2003 beginning. When Kibaki became president, Kenyans became very responsible. Very, very responsible. They even arrested police officers who were taking bribes on the road. Because they thought there was a new beginning. Unfortunately, the leadership failed them, and now we are back to where we are. I think somehow we need another break like that. And that break doesn't really have to come from even politicians or leaders like John, but it can come from you. And you tried to exhibit and show it last year. How I wish that the same energy that you applied in the streets last year, you apply it also in changing our morality and our ways of doing things and our general integrity as a people. Because if it starts with the youth, let us assume that the old people may not change. We will all die, and soon Kenya will be better. Yes, if we fail to change, we will die. But the young generation like you, if you decide to change and make Kenyans better, in a couple of years, people like Mbadi, if I was to live like what, I will not live more than 46 years from today. I don't see myself going beyond 100 years. So I will die soon. But you people will be here, and your children and the grandchildren. So start it today. Change the way things are being done. Let me move quickly. I think it was the same thing with Makanga and the corruption and economic inequality. Yeah?
Yeah. The other question
from
was...
Bunde. I think
yeah.
it was the same question.
Yes.
So
The
Collins...
VAT.
Yeah.
There was a question on VAT and whether that is going to suit Kenyans in these hard times. Any changes on VAT that will hurt Kenyans?
No, I don't think there is any change in VAT that would hurt Kenyans. If you look at the list, I think the few that we have removed from zero to exempt, we have also tried to cure that by doing the same with the input.
Yeah.
So that the net effect is almost zero. The ones that we have moved from exempt to vatable at 16% are luxurious commodities, or luxurious items, like chopper. Choppers have been enjoying tax exemption. Imagine someone buying a chopper is not paying tax, and you buy shoes and you pay tax. You buy clothes and you pay tax. That is how unequal. That's how unfair our society sometimes can become. And by the way, this was introduced just a while back. I think someone wanted to buy choppers. And that person was in a decision-making position. That is very unfair. Just like this introduction in the bill, which was brought in by Parliament, to say that you cannot allow KRA to see certain data. It was brought by some people who maybe are just money launderers, who don't want their data to be seen. If you are not a money launderer, you have nothing to fear with that amendment. I will tell you. In fact, if I see anyone opposing this, I just know you are a money launderer in a way. Yeah. But anyway, it is there for Kenyans. So what I'm saying in short, that the only things that we are moving to vatable are those luxurious commodities which have unfairly enjoyed tax reliefs at the expense of you and I, whose salaries are being taxed to support some of these people. You are being taxed, imagine on your 50,000, you only earn 35 or 30. And that money is used to allow some people to import shoppers.
Youth Fund, Uwezo Fund was the other question. The allocation to Youth Fund, Uwezo Fund, that money is totaling to about 2%. Is it increasing?
But you see, the money directed to youth is not just that. There are other provisions in the budget. Even the Hustler Fund is getting more boost, 1 billion more. But let me also tell you, there is value addition under agriculture. And that is targeting job creation and employment. It is for youth. I will also give you another one. In the finance bill, we are doing a lot to make tea sector and coffee sector to be more competitive by giving tax reliefs. I will also give you another example that all this money that we put in health, it is for you, the young people. You are the ones who are still giving birth, as some of us have stopped. So if I put money for maternity, it is for you. It is not for me. I don't need any maternity. It's now my children who are supposed to be giving me grandchildren. If I'm still giving more children, then I have a problem. So all this money belongs to you. Primary health care is more for you people. So all the budget, look at the budget in totality. Education is for the youth. The money that we provide there is for the youth. But for employment creation, there's money that we are putting in for manufacturing sector. There is money we are putting in for value addition. We are putting quite a bit of money to support even the ICT so that the youth are supported. So look at the budget holistically. I think that was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one. Let's take another round. Yeah. We're just going to take just 3 questions. Start with this lady here. And please, just the question, so that everyone else can ask. Yeah.
Nikazia.
No, just so that we can allow almost.
My name is Elseba Kokeo, famously known as Sebi Cox Nyasego. Thank you so much, Bwana CS. I have a question. Mine is on tax literacy. We know that the rejection of finance bill partly stemmed from genuine concern. A significant number.
It's okay.
A significant number is fueled by misinformation and disinformation. Unlike the previous approaches, what incentives or measures has the National Treasury put in place to make sure that people understand this? Other than what we have today, which is very informative, what other measures are you putting in place to make sure that this is fair? Because
it's working.
Okay. I've seen the participation, the budget participation, the public participation that is going on, but I can tell you for sure, not so many people would access such kind of forum. So what are we going to do? How are we going to use social media? Question 2 on the KRA. As a content creator, my question would be, how are you going to make sure that we are not double taxed or exposed to excessive taxing when it comes to the withholding tax, the digital tax, and all that? Thank you.
All right, just one more question. This lady here, this lady here. We'll come to you, we'll come to you.
Yeah, so mine is very simple to Bwana CSC. I think it's I do understand the importance of the government to actually get taxes. I know sometimes it's not easy, but we have to get taxes for this nation to work. And I get that. My question is particularly, I know education was given 701 billion, right? Oh, I didn't say my name. My name is Charlotte. I'm trying to be very brief. My name is Charlotte. I think we live around the same place. Yesterday I wanted to come to your place and say, no interview kesho, but so I meet you today. So I just wanted to say this. So I run an organization called the Big Talks. It's a civic education movement that seeks to create awareness, simplify bills. I mean, nani hapa akiona bill from parliament or senate anaelewa? Right? It's too hard. It's a little bit legalese, right? So that's where me and Charlotte comes in and breaks down those things. I did that for the finance bill last year for the whole 132 pages of it. I'm still reading this new finance bill because I know there's a draft, but haijamalizika completely. So my question is this: now with education, it received 701 billion. If I'm not wrong, around that range.
That's correct.
Yeah, and then teachers are being given 377 billion, teachers.
Yes.
And then HELB is 55 billion, right? Now we have seen how UON is plummeting, right? All the major universities. When I was young, when you could hear the University of Nairobi, unatishika kiasi, right? Because that was the OG school, right? You could get the AG, the professors were coming from the University of Nairobi. But now we are seeing it, plummeting into areas that tunashtuka, the university is going down. I mean, Moi, people are not graduating anymore. It's like
Question,
it stopped.
please.
Right? Sorry, I'm getting there. Pole. My question is just this: when 701 billion is being allocated to education, and I know we really want to reduce taxes, what is the state's initiative to, bail out public universities? Can we hear about that? Kuna funding, anything just about that? Yeah. Sorry for taking your time.
All right, this gentleman here, he has fought for his question. It's the final question, please, for time. It's the final question.
Thank you so much, Bwana CS. My name is Kombedo Michael. I work with non-state ASAS and partly work with Audio Media team. Bwana CS, you are doing fantastic job under difficult circumstances in this nation, in this volatile nation. Bwana CS, we annually raise additional revenue to fund budget deficit, to major project. Why is it that we have a major road, a super international highway, Kisumu-Busia Road, is dilapidated, is very small in size, is leading to death trap, and no MP in my area in Luo Nyanza is talking about it, Kisumu-Busia Road. People are dying in that road. There is a problem, it's small in size, and nothing is happening in that road. They are just saying, pesa inalala huko, lakini barabara yetu kutoka Kisumu mpaka Busia, haufanyi chochote. Lastly, I hope now that you are there, I hope that Baba 6K will be landing in my M-Pesa. Thank you, Bwana.
Let's start with the question around education. I think it's another question. Could you combine it with this? There's a question regarding the KCSE. This came from an online listener called Nyambus from Facebook. She asked whether or not there is funding for KCSE exams and exactly what is the plan for scholarships as well.
Thank you very much. In terms of education, you are spot on, Charlotte. Yeah? You are spot on. You said that we spent 700. Actually, this budget, the budget estimates are 700. Which 377 will go to TSC to teachers. There is another 7.2 to employ intern teachers, billion. But I want to also point out to you that, yes, there is, actually, HELB is 41.1 billion, but there is 16.9 for what we call the university scholarship. which is a component there. So, but then there is 86 billion for funding. That is the money that we support the university with, universities. However, that money is not enough. Our universities are struggling, and some decisive action has to be taken. I think the Ministry of Education must look at how then to get our universities back. Some of us who went through some of these universities, I went through the same university you are talking about, University of Nairobi, Lower Kabete, and when I see headline stories that University of Nairobi is crumbling, it pains me, because that's a thought that no one would ever imagine. And we need to look at it, but also look at the sustainability, because I think we must be alive to the fact that resources are limited. How then do we encourage universities? Universities are doing very well out there on two areas, research and consultancy. And that, by the way, when we started parallel program, because parallel program just started when I was leaving the university, and it started when I became a staff of the university. We came with that system of parallel as a stopgap. Already there were challenges, but it was just a stopgap to lead us to more sustainable ways of generating revenue for our universities. We need to think, and well, I'm in that position where we should be thinking for government. The suggestion that I have is that we must make sure that we push our universities to a level where they can generate revenue in more sustainable ways, where they have competence, and that is the research and consultancy. So, but we have provided some 86 billion for that. We would have provided more, but imagine day secondary school taking 54.9 billion. Free or subsidized JSS, 30.9 billion. Free primary education, 7.9 billion. TVETs, 5.2 for subsidized, and then there is 2.5 for capitation, 5.2 for capitation, and 2.5 for loaning. We have other budget lines like feeding program, another 3 billion. You know, when you add all this, you basically don't have resources. That is, and education is already taking 28% of our budget. So that's what I would say. In terms of examination fee, yes, we are going to fund examination. The only thing we are trying to do is to rationalize it. Our examinations have become extremely expensive for nothing. You know, there are no reasons why we should print exams, bring them here, yet we print our passports across here, and passports are even more security issue worldwide than even exams. So we think we can do exams cheaper. We can print, get our exams done in a cheaper way. But we are going to support not only KCSE, by the way, for the first time we are going to have 3 exams this year. Grade 6, grade 9, and the KCSE. So the other question that came was, actually it was not a question. Kuke, you talked about tax literacy. I agree with you. There is, we need to take this up more seriously. Many people comment on things they don't understand. You know, sometimes I also rarely go to social media, rarely. When I go to social media and I see comments, I just laugh to myself, because I am at least privileged to understand these tax laws. By the way, even when I was in school, if there was an area which I loved most, was public finance and taxation. Taxation was always an A for me. So I really love this area. So when I see people speaking from point of ignorance, there are people who are openly malicious, who actually, they know what they are saying and they want to say something different. So those ones I don't bother with, because you'll always find such negativity in any environment. You see, they made Shah look so bad. Shah. They made it look so bad. Where is this now negativity around Shah? Because so many people have now started appreciating that it is there. And by the way, one interesting thing is when it is getting better, people don't talk. They just walk away. But when things are looking bad, they make noise. Anyway, that is the role of opposition, by the way. Even me, when I was the other side, I really contributed towards the defeat of the last year's finance bill. because I looked at the 5% which was bad. 95 was okay. 95% was okay. But my duty was not to talk about the 95% which was okay. I looked for the 5 and made sure it was very bad, because that is the role of opposition. But now that I'm in government, I talk about the 95%. It is your duty to go and look at those 5% and then we engage, isn't it? But I will guarantee you the finance bill of this year, if there is something that is bad, it should be maybe 1%. Yeah. Finally, because of time, I have a flight later in the evening. What's the time, by the way, so that I can know how much?
It's 3:22.
Yeah, so we can finish in the next 15 minutes or so. So I'll give you another round. So, but multiple taxes, we are really trying, okay, we are really trying very hard to make sure that we don't overtax you people in the digital space. That's why we are lowering some. But we can still engage. If there are some taxes that you think, but withholding tax, the reason why we put it for most businesses is to enhance tax visibility. It's actually like an advance tax, so that if you find we have taxed you more, we refund you. But usually we put a small figure so that we can see you. It's an easy way of seeing people. But I'll engage with you further. If there are taxes, tax amendments don't have to wait for finance bill. If there's something that you think is very oppressive and is deterring business and job creation, bring it out. Give it to us. Make proposal. This gentleman is very quiet here, but this is the man who puts all those taxes. He's here. This is my Director General. He's called Albert Mwenda, but don't lynch him in the street. Everything that he prepares has to pass through me. I have to endorse it. And there is another DG here. This is the owner of PPP. He's a new guy. Yeah? PPP, Public-Private Partnership. Kefa Seda is here. Finally, bills are truly too hard to understand. But that is why we try to bring explainers. Yeah, I hope Albert will do the explainer for the finance bill again. Have we done it?
Yes, there is one.
There is one already. So explainer for finance bill. Make sure it is in social media as much as possible. We have changed things. How many people nowadays read the language? No, but that one you are right. By the way, these technical people, these my technical people, their language is usually very hard. I'm a bit different. Actually, I try to break down their language. And you give it to them. Them, they have to be technical. I am a bit different. I'm both technical, political, and everything. So I will make sure that language is more understandable. So let's get easier, simplified version of the finance bill. Finally, Michael, I hope you are not asking me to answer the 6,000. I will only answer the Kisumu-Busia Road. Kisumu-Busia Road, I agree with you, is in very bad shape. Maybe something for you to note, we have a road called Lake Victoria Ring Road. It's used to be in 6 lots, but Kisumu-Busia Road was added to it to make it the 7th. So there are 7 lots of about 66 kilometers each. That proposal has gone to World Bank. It's a major road. So for financing, we hope that we are going to get the resources to finance that road. We have, again, I want to repeat, we have challenges with finances. To do a major road in this country now from GOK funds is not easy. Because do you do a road? We ask ourselves, do we do this major highway? Like right now, look at this road here from Rironi all the way to Western Kenya. During Christmas, you take hours on this road because of traffic. Right now, we are doing it. It's going to be started in the next 1 month or so, but under PPP. If Busia Road would have been commercially viable, we would take it to PPP, but I doubt. So getting to do a road through GOK funding is a bit of a challenge, because what do? Do you treat people or do a road? Those are the questions that we ask. Do we pay for secondary school education, primary school education, Do we feed our people who are unfed in northern Kenya, or we do a road? Do we fight Al-Shabaab, or do a road? You know, we ask those things. Yeah, so that is those are some of the challenges. Not that leaders are not talking about it. They talk. And even if they don't talk, don't you think we know that road exists? We see it, and it has just been the resources. Yeah, let me not talk about the 6,000.
Another round of questions. Is this gentleman here? There's that gentleman there. Walikuwa wamejitetea sana.
If that can take 8
we'll take
minutes.
Hey, pole. Umesema tuanze wapi?
Anza na ujama. And then the guy in the specs there.
Kindly introduce yourself and tell us your question.
My name is Abokelisha, and Waziri, thank you. I just want to compliment what you are doing, and I want to urge you that in the next financial bill, kindly consider extending the tax base. There are people who are not paying tax in this nation, and they go unnoticed. So next time, when you are doing it, prepare it and make sure you expand the tax base so that we can reduce taxing those who are paying it. For example, those who are in employment. See, those people are crying. Their pay slip is overburdened. So we extend the tax bill. Then again, these are just a recommendation that right now we are working on it. But again, we will present it to the CS Education. We are thinking this way. The only way we can manage our public universities is not to hire the vice chancellors, the professors as the vice chancellors. We need to do a reform in these institutions so that we can hire the CEOs to run these public universities with the mind of making a profit for the universities, because the resources are scarce and the scarce resources need to be utilized perfectly. So it is a research we are doing. The moment we will finalize it, we will present it to the right authorities so that it be implemented. Because I'm finalizing.
Please, we need to ask. We do not have the time.
Waziri, nimesukumwa, but I'm asking you, the 6K, Baba promised us. Kindly do something for us, that 6K.
Asante. Next question.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Munaita, President of the Youth Banking Summit. My question is about the integration of the Auditor General's report into the finance bill. This year, I know you're seeking to raise almost 35 billion, but if you look at the Auditor General's report at the end of June 2024, the amount that was unsupported and could not be accounted for is actually 34 billion, which is just $1 billion less than what you're looking for from the MDAs. So how are you planning to use the finance bill or to use the powers vested upon you to bring to account the individuals highlighted in the Auditor General's report and reduce the need for borrowing and extra taxation, because that money is within the country and the Auditor General has already highlighted where it is?
Let's come to this end. There's a gentleman here, right behind her, and then this lady, and then we'll take just those for now.
I rise to speak on the protocol as already established. Good afternoon. My name is Willis Okeo. I am a teacher at a school in Kiambu. CS tunajuana na yeye, ananiita Jacobunda. The question that I want to ask is, I want to see us from today when I go out there to explain to people, especially in my staff room, where this question, this blanket statement they always give. 2025 is a short of taxes, but long on how to fix the economy. You will give me the answer that I will go and explain to them so that they understand. One more on their children that are, their parents are disabled. These children are treated normally as other children. Is there in your budget, and now it is a proposal, is there in your budget or your plan, how they can be treated differently. Maybe their education can be made free, primary and secondary, and even tertiary, be made free so that they don't undergo the normal way these other normal people without disability are undergoing. That is all I have. Thank you.
I think we'll close it at that. Bwana CS. Oh, yes. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I was a bit late. My name is Gashi Karaoke. I may have missed a bit of what you guys had addressed, but here are a few pointers, stroke questions.
No,
I run a CBO. It's called Ustawi KE, a youth-led organization. And one of the things I'm realizing in the past 3 months, because I've been trying to observe the conversation around public finance in this country, is there's not enough from the Treasury and also the KRA on the nitty-gritties of what we need to understand as young people and young taxpayers. Bwana Waziri, young Kenyans in this country want to meaningfully participate in nation building, contribute in revenue raising or getting revenue for their government, but we don't have enough information. So it becomes very easy for misinformation and disinformation, and especially for rural young people who are less likely to fact check what they're reading or what they're consuming. So what are you guys doing, especially this time when we're deliberating on the public finance conversation, and especially the finance bill?
Do you have any other question? It had been asked.
Please.
It had been asked, honestly.
Let me finish, because I know where I'm getting with this.
All right.
On matters disinformation and misinformation, which was very critical last year in the debacle we saw on 25th June. We don't want a repeat of that. So what is the Treasury doing to, working with other stakeholders, perhaps even with the county commissioners, chiefs, and other stakeholders, in ensuring this particular conversation is mirrored in every sub-county? Next, menstrual health products are pharmaceutical products, and they should be considered pharmaceutical products as opposed to cosmetic products, which is what we do as a country. What are you doing to ensure that, as much as possible, when you're making considerations for, I don't know, zero rating, waiving taxes or whatever, that young people, young women, and young women and persons who might need sanitary towels, diapers for the adults and the youth, for the adults and the kids, what are you doing to ensure that they are able to access them and they're affordable for all of them? Thank you.
All right. We're already short of time. Sorry. I'm very sorry.
So I would request her to start, yes.
Waziri, I'll help you answer the question raised by Mwalimu. There's a bill already on the disability issues. I think normally Treasury must also work with the laws that are there in the House. The Persons with Disability Bill was already passed, but the Act is there. So that will be able to solve the problem on allocation, targeting children, both with any kind of disability, invisible disabilities like ADHD, dyslexia. It's quite expensive for the parents. Already the National Council for Persons with Disability allocates some money, but with the implementation of this particular bill, it will be able to target a wider group. So maybe that can help you answer the question. It's a process that's already in the House, and I'm part of the one of the proponents of that particular bill, alongside the Kenya Sign Language Bill. Waziri, as I hand you the mic, the young people from Garissa are also asking, and the larger Northeastern, the challenge on roads, because it's a security issue. We know the allocations for the budget for security. What could be that one answer that we can give them? And I can also be able to give them the same. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bwana CS, if you can keep it short.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll really keep it short because I think I'm running out of time as well.
Yeah.
On expansion or expanding tax base, this we are dealing with very well. Actually, if you look at this finance bill, a lot of it is to expand tax base. Because how do you expand tax base? You expand tax base by bringing those who should pay taxes and are not paying. That can only be done by making tax visibility better, that you are able to see those people who have made some money and are supposed to pay taxes and they are not paying. So that we are already doing. This finance bill is a lot on reforms. It's a lot on streamlining. And also we are giving capacity to the revenue collector, KRA, to do that, to be able to have tools that they require to be able to collect taxes. On reforms at the university, I think that is a good one. You go on, and I think it will be processed properly, procedurally, So that I'll leave at that. In terms of integrating or integration of the reports of the Auditor General into the finance bill, yes, a lot the Auditor General has spoken to. A lot of it is pointing to procurement challenges, and that is why we are improving procurement processes, and we are bringing in e-procurement as IT solution to our procurement challenges. A digital way of procuring, so that we reduce human interaction with the system. Actually, anywhere where you open a system to human interaction, it is prone to abuse. And so that we are doing. Willis, the other question that you asked was, really this was not a question. I think you wanted me to comment on how this is short, this finance bill is short on taxes, raising measures, and long on fixing the economy. How do we fix the economy? We make business, ease of doing business better. And this you can do if, one, you create certainty in taxation. Two, you make taxation simpler, how people get to compute their taxes. And that is what we are trying to do. So that we don't make paying of taxes punitive, oppressive, costly. That is what this finance bill is trying to address, alongside other challenges. There's a question on lack of information. I think the lady, unfortunately I didn't get your name, but you asked a question about, actually you gave a comment about lack of information, especially in the rural areas. That is factual. And one of the strategies that we have employed with this finance bill and the budget estimates is that we have gone to the vernacular stations, which are listened to widely across the country, and we have assigned our officers. Mwenda here has been very active in various stations, Kiswahili stations. I told him to be stepping in for me in Kiswahili stations, because he knows my weaknesses and shortcomings when it comes to that area. But he has also been in relevant vernacular station. I don't want to say which one. I've said relevant because I don't want to profile my staff. Now, I've also personally gone to a relevant vernacular station. I also don't want to say which one again because we are all Kenyans. But I think I've also picked something from you, that we probably need to use national government offices much better, even to also engage in barazas. Because you remember there was a time when chiefs and assistant chiefs had a major role in spelling out government programs, policies, and they were very active and good in doing it. I remember the district focus for rural development was actually being championed and pioneered and patroned through the chiefs, assistant chiefs, and the DUs across the country. That I think we can bring back. On the issue that one of us has raised on diapers and such like, I think it was you again. By the way, we have tax incentives around diapers. People have been saying we are going to tax diapers. It's not there. Hatuna hiyo, iko kwa bill. Yeah, we still they still enjoy the tax benefits. Finally, my sister here, Umi, I can't agree with you more. Some areas of this country, and that is where I will end. And when I start speaking about that, I get so passionate because I know what discrimination and lack of inclusivity can mean. I have represented a constituency for 17 years. No, 15 years. The last 2 years, I was not representing a constituency. I was nominated member of parliament. A constituency which had zero tarmac, 0 inch of tarmac road until I became an MP. And even after becoming MP and getting the road tendered and awarded in 2016, that road is not complete even to date. 7 kilometers was done, contractor took off, no payment. Again it was started, no payment. Again started at that time, no payment. Until recently, it was started. At least there's some payment. So I know this, but let me just say two things. Do you know inclusivity in this country is something that we must talk about? And we don't talk about it that we are condemning those who have enjoyed these services. Actually, the ideal situation is all of us should be enjoying that level of services. All of us should have our roads done up to the gate, if not to the door of your house. All of us should have piped water in our taps. All of us should have health facilities nearby, working. But we are in a country where some of us enjoy some of these services and others don't. Those who are enjoying should continue enjoying. But let us also bring others. I was in Tana River. It is something, it's an example that I keep on giving every day. I was in Tana River, Garsen constituency. 2 bridges have been started there. The area member of parliament decided to use CDF to start, to construct 2 bridges because they were leading to schools. From 1963, when we got independence to date, the children of Oromo, are they called Orma Oromo? Orma Oromo. And Pokomo. Their children have been eaten by crocodile as they cross to school. All these years. Why? Because no one saw the necessity of allocating 100 million, not billion, shillings to construct bridges across River Tana. Until that MP put 10 million. When I went there, I told him, my friend, each of these bridges lack 90 million. In the supplementary budget, I put for them 50-50, and I've put another 25-25 in this budget to complete those 2 bridges. Because really, we cannot. In fact, when I look at that, it's more dire than my people who, the only challenge is they are walking on matope wakienda shule. There is a difference. They are also suffering, but not as those ones. Dadaab constituency is going to get tarmac road for the first time this year. Yet there are constituencies which have almost tarmac roads everywhere. I will tell you, in terms of even electricity, there was this suggestion from parliament that every constituency to get, Mheshimiwa Umi, to get 50 million. There are constituencies, if you take 50 million for last mile connectivity, they have nowhere to put it. Because electricity is everywhere. And there are others with less than 20% of penetration. That is the country. There are others with 0. That is the country we are living in, where we have different classes of people for no reason, and we have been paying taxes since independence, all of us. Some people died in 1965, and I really, my apologies to those on behalf of those leaders. And categorize over 75% of productive. Yet you go to Dubai, Dubai is worse than now than Kenya in terms of everything, climate. And you categorize that region as non-productive, and so you take all the resources of the country to specific areas which have been privileged over the years because of weather. That the weather is good, they're productive agriculturally. If they're productive agriculturally, is Northeastern not productive in terms of livestock? More productive. You can't have the kind of livestock that is in Northeastern, you can't have it in Suba South constituency come from. And we are also privileged in terms of fish. You will never find fish that you get there. Hata ukiweka kwa pond, they will not have the same taste like the ones that come from Lake Victoria. That is our resource. So we use and exploit all our resources. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I want to just, as I conclude, and say that let us look at budgets as a national building tool, as a tool to help us enhance cohesion. So going forward, let us be alert when budget begins. Let us engage early. Those issues that were raised here, let 2026-25 be a year with a difference, 27 be a year with a difference, where you start early to raise your voices and ask why money is put here and not here. When you come late in the day, it may be too late to make those adjustments. Thank you very much. God bless you.
All right. Bwana CS, I will just ask you for just one short minute to just wait. We'll take a selfie here with the rest of everyone who is here. But just quickly, if you're wondering where to find the bill is uploaded at the moment. Parliament.go.ke. It's available there, the full bill. You can get to read it and get to see what exactly is being planned for that. You can also get to see the bill on the Treasury website as well. Bwana CS, I don't know whether you know, but at the moment you're trending at #1 on X. Yeah, he is trending #1, and it's because of engagements like this. So I believe
and
all
clap
of us.
for yourself.
Yes, and most importantly, this is the start of the conversation. More of this?
Yeah.
More of this? Yes. Come on, guys, more of this? Yes. All right, so we're going to take that selfie, but just to thank all of you who have participated on this conversation, online and offline. And if there's any question, keep them coming on Youth Parliament, on #YouthParliamentKE. Keep them coming. Treasury, the National Treasury, and KRA will also be responding to those questions as well as they can. So thank you so much, Kwaheri. Thank you so much for joining us live. I hope we have answered most of your questions. If there is any, keep them coming. Thank you so much.